Good evening, and welcome to HBCU Delaware Talks, and thank you for allowing me to, once again, come into your living room to talk to you about historically black colleges and universities, PWIs, and everything that's happening in Wilmington, Delaware. By the way, what's up, Wilmington, Delaware? A place to be someone and a happy place. And I thank God for Wilmington, Delaware, and I thank God for you. Today we have a lot to talk about in a little bit of time. So let me just get started with the introductions of my guests. I have Mr. Blaskston, who is an education consultant. I also have Asaya Barnwell, who's a current enrolled student at North Carolina A&T, along with Michael Johnson, who's a currently enrolled student at North Carolina A&T as well. Welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on. I often ask the students who come home from college to come on to the show so we can talk about their experience, just what do they do in college, what college life is all about. This is not one of those shows where I interview you. We have a conversation, we have fun, and we talk about the experience, because a lot of students in the community who have yet to go to college, they want to know what it is. They want to know what HBCU schools are like. They want to know about your experience. They want to know if it's hard. They want to know if it costs a lot. Kids are in the community, parents even want to know. I happen to have a great time at Norfolk State University during my tenure years and years ago, and when I had black hair. You know, today things kind of change, but that's all good. Change is good. But I had a really great experience in college. Mr. Blaskston, I know you had a great experience.
Absolutely.
But, and even before I go there, Mr. Blaskston and I, we go way back to class of 1981, 80, 79, 78 when we were in high school. Mr. Blaskston was a member of the Middletown High School basketball team. Great ball player, great athlete, great guy all around, and is an advocate for our youth, an advocate for parents in an adult education. He's an educator. He's been around for some times, and just has a wholesome, no, wrong choice of words. This is live. Just has a whole lot of information for you in the community. So again, I thank you for allowing me to tune in. So for us to get started, I'd just like to ask you, Mr. Blaskston, what do you do?
Well, I'm the former director of adult education in the Hbcu School District, and now I'm actually an educational consultant. I've been working in education for 20 years.
Awesome.
The educational consulting came by accident, but it's been a wonderful experience. And what I get to do now is work with individuals and trying to move them forward. Within adult education and when in college life, it's important that we transition now, because working within the state of Delaware as well as the nation, post-secondary opportunities are mandated now. And so my job now is to work with young people like Mike and this young lady right here, Zay, thank you, Zay, to make sure that they get the opportunity, because so many individuals don't get the opportunity to go to college. When I was the director of adult education in Middletown, one of the requirements when you came in the program, well, what was your post-secondary plan? And so the post-secondary, a lot of them didn't have that, because a lot of were second opportunity students. Some came in and didn't know what they wanted to do. They wanted a GED or high school diploma. And then I mentor about 25 students now.
Awesome.
The majority of them are African American. I have students who are attending college at Morehouse, Georgetown, Delaware State, University of Delaware, Hampton University. So I'm working with those individuals to kind of keep them on track so they can continue to live their goal as getting a college education.
Sure.
It's really important that they finish. And it's not starting, it's finishing, because a lot of students start college, but the most important thing is that they finish college.
Yes, and we're going to come back to you, because I think that fits right in and ties right into the students we have from North Carolina A&T. Mr. Mike Johnson, you're currently enrolled at North Carolina A&T. What year are you in?
I am a freshman. This is my first year. I just wrapped up my first semester as well. I'm a freshman electrical engineering student. So, you know, the first semesters are kind of like the weed out classes where they want to, you know, beat around freshmen, make sure the ones who are very serious about the major are like serious about being there. So you're going to have classes that are kind of more difficult, and they may seem designed to make you fail and, like, you know, quit the major or the department itself. But if you stick with it, like, the rewards and the opportunities and the support that you have there, like, there's too much to, like, at stake to give up. You know what I mean?
Sure. I'll tell you, one of the popular words as far as life goes on is called transition.
Absolutely.
You know, we transition from elementary to junior high school. I happen to be a middle school teacher at Tally Middle School in Brandywine School District. And I see the transition from the sixth graders when they were in fifth grade to sixth grade. And at times they just seem so lost. And sometimes it appears that they're so needy because they're used to being in a classroom set that was self-contained. And they didn't change classes. So now they get all their book work, the course work, and now it's like, oh, how am I going to organize this? So I know for sixth graders, if it's tough, it must be tough for you all. Can you tell me a little bit about the transition that you experienced from? First of all, are you a freshman as well?
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about your transition?
My transition was a little easy, I would say, but you're more independent in college, so you don't always have those teachers and your parents there to tell you to get up for class and to do this and stick with your work. You actually have to take your own time to do it. You're on your own pretty much.
Really? How about your transition from high school to college?
Well, I mean, pretty much the same as what Zay said. It was relatively easy because I was able to have, you know, my school prepared me pretty much for what I needed to expect in college. Definitely touching on, you know, you don't have your teachers or your parents there to say, wake up, go to this class, or your teachers there to say, okay, I'll take time out of class to explain this to you, because some teachers will give you the lecture, and if you need any help, the first thing you need to do is go to their office hours, which is not immediately after class. You may have to schedule the next Wednesday to go to their office hours from 4 to 5 to talk to them about a problem you had last week. And, you know, and the book work, which you were talking about as well too, like, you're not gonna be spoon-fed information in the classroom anymore like you were in high school. You want to read segments of your book and come prepared, because basically they're throwing up half and you have to meet them with half as well.
Yeah.
So what high school did you come from?
Avon Grove High School.
Avon Grove. PA. How about?
For Quinmans County High School. I'm from North Carolina.
Are you really? Awesome. Southern hospitality.
Yes.
What do you think?
Absolutely.
As far as my transition from high school to college, it was a little tough. I mean, I went down to Norfolk State alone. I went on a bus. I didn't have the money on a bus with a big old Foot Locker that was so large. But that, and then getting dropped off at the bus station, I had no idea.
I did the same
how
thing.
friendly Norfolk State folk were, because there was people at the bus station waiting for me to get there. I was like, that was awesome, you know, to get there and then to help me into the dorms, and it was just a very smooth transition. Book load, the load was kind of tough because I tried to take 18 hours at first.
Bad idea.
18 hours, it quickly dropped down to 15 to 12. So it took me 4.5 years. Yeah, I got 5 years to get out, but I did, and that's where I want to go with perseverance. What can you tell me about some of the students that you taught and that you advocate for, as far as their perseverance, and even with the adults?
Well, I think the people that I advocate for are second chance students. Sure. Whether they are freshmen, sophomore, juniors, seniors in high school, or they're a 35-year-old. I'm working with a young man now who I absolutely adore. His mother's a childhood friend who has been close to me. She's probably my closest friend in the world. And he is going to be a father. He already has a family, and he's getting ready to be a father again. And he is a tremendous talent. And he came out of high school and he started working. And so the thing that we always try to do is, you know, you don't have, some people don't transition to college right away because they want to go into the workforce. Sure. Now, this is years ago, but right now, way society is, way the economy is, you have to really get that post-secondary opportunity and take advantage of it. And so now a lot of schools within the state of Delaware and around the tri-state area, which I work with, are giving older students an opportunity to go back to school. But just like Mike said, you really have to be persistent and consistent. Sure. I mean, because like you said, I mean, when you get to college, the world changes. I always tell students, the first thing in my seminar I talk to them about is, what's different between high school and the real world? And I tell them, raise your hand if you know the answer. And a lot of times they don't. And I say, the real world, whether it be work, college, military, whatever, the real world is less forgiving in high school. You can struggle, you can get into trouble, and they'll give you an opportunity to come back. but within the college realm, within the military, within work, especially in college, because now you become more independent. Mike made a really good point. Zoe made a really good point. Now my parents are not there to get me up in the morning, so that you really need to do like a life plan starting in high school that involves college. So, my freshman year was a real struggle. I struggled my freshman year. I was on the basketball team. I didn't go to a historically black college, but I went to a really good school, and I was overwhelmed. And I ended up coming home and have to go back. And so, but I was persistent and consistent the second chance opportunity that I got to go back. And I got my degree, I got my master's, and in probably about 3 weeks, I'll be completing my doctorate degree. So with all that, it was more persistence and being consistent than, somebody saying, well, you're really, really smart. Well, it doesn't really have to do with that. And so that's what we tell young people now, get yourself a plan, because you transition from and you made a really good point about where you work. People, 6th graders stay in the classroom, but then they move to a different, they're overwhelmed. So, and the parents will get overwhelmed, not just students, but parents, because now it's a transition for them as well, from middle school to high school. So we really have to make sure that you stay consistent, get that plan together so that you can be successful, because I'm gonna tell you, within North Carolina A&T and within the world, life is gonna happen. There's gonna be something that's gonna change your perspective, whether it be work, military, and especially college, but you have to stay in it so you can finish.
One of the things that I see with the educational process is that it takes perseverance in order to be successful. And a lot of students today, or a lot of our young folk today, they tend to hit that brick wall and then quit.
Yeah.
And we didn't. That wasn't even an option when we were coming up.
Yeah.
But it seems like they're dependent on mom and dad to take care of them.
Yeah.
They're dependent on some money to fall out of the sky.
Right.
When they don't have. A lot of students, they have an experience that are in college. Some of them have an experience not having.
Right.
Man, at Norfolk State, they have a Chick-fil-A on campus.
Wow.
And I'm sure they
That's
probably have
when we went to college.
They have a train station that goes right through the. I mean, when I was in college, man, we was in 4 or 5 of us in one dorm room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the start.
Yes.
And then, but then you get used to it, see, because you don't quit, because it's like a lot of obstacles that are put before you. Well, they're for a reason.
Yeah.
And they're there to test your faith, test your character, because, and if you don't pass that test, it's coming right back at you. Tell me about why you selected North Carolina A&T.
Well, I was searching for. I wasn't really looking for the most prestigious school. I was looking for the school that was right for me personally. Like, it didn't matter to me the name of the school.
Sure.
And my parents have already told me about like HBCUs beforehand. I already had knowledge before them, like back in 10th grade. I have my aunt Sugar. She was an alumni at A&T, and she also told me about everything around there. So, I didn't really know much about the school, but when I went down there and toured, I fell in love. The campus was great, the people there were great, the staff was great. And the department I was looking at, the engineering department, was well accredited. Like, everyone there basically knew their stuff. I knew that if I went to here, I would have grade A education.
Good.
And it was easily affordable too, especially for an out-of-state student. Because when you're out of state and you're looking to leave, when you're from Pennsylvania, you're looking at Penn State, Pittsburgh, places like that in state. But when you go out of state, you have to choose wisely because you have to pay out-of-state tuition. But it was actually affordable for us to go to A&T. So I think that was one of the main decisions for me going there, especially after the tour. And then after the orientation, where they have you chant, have to do school chants like Aggie Pride or AGGIE, what, PRID. Like, it gives you a sense of like camaraderie and like family at the school. Like the student body, you kind of feel connected with the community there. So I definitely knew I could stay here for 4 years. That was one of the things I was thinking of. Could I stay here for 4 years of my life and possibly more? And I decided yes, and I think I made the right decision.
That's awesome testimony that you just taught. You're saying, you thought about the big picture. Can I stay here in spite of whatever happens? I'm gonna stay here, and that's perseverance. I respect that out of you. Zay, are you involved in any college activities on campus? Activities?
I'm in the pre-vet club.
The
Pre-vet.
Pre-vet.
Because I want to be a veterinarian.
Can you tell me a veterinarian? Okay. Can you tell me a little bit more about the pre-vet club?
The pre-vet club, it kind of helps us with internships, and it puts us out there, and they email us about internships like every week. So that's really good. It's good for opportunities, and we do a lot of off-campus things. Like
Okay.
since we're pre-vet, we go to like the zoo and we work with animals and actually work with the other vets and people that get behind the scenes. So
Really? So you take a lot of anatomy,
no, I'm not
physiology?
taking that yet.
No?
But
But you're going to take
Yeah, I'm
anatomy.
going- I'm going
You're going to
to.
take physiology, kinesiology. But this is all not even with the human body. This is for the animal body. You have to know the anatomy, the
I have
build.
20 hours of chemistry to take.
Chemistry. Wow. At this time, I'm going to take a 2-minute break, and we're going to come back with you for the next segment.
That's the only song we sing. That's the only thing life seems to bring. Yeah. But tonight, we going to a place few speak of. Great grandmama and granddaddy love. Yeah. Really be love. Yeah. The divorce rate is out of control. Too many broken homes, I know. It gets hard, y'all. And that's why we gotta take it to God, y'all. Love each other now. Oh, your sister, your brother now. Hold on, don't let go. You need a dose of that heavy love. You can't move it, you can't shake it, you can't beat it, you can't take it. It's unchanging. Heavy love, it ain't changing. Heavy love, so much power, so much patience. It's a love so amazing. It ain't moving. Heavy love, it ain't breaking. Heavy love.
Welcome back to the show, and thanks for allowing us to tune in and to actually be in your living room. As we go to this segment, I just wanted to ask you some of your challenges at North Carolina A&T. What are some of the challenges that you may have? Or what are some of the challenges that you may see in an HBCU school?
You want to take this one or?
Either one. It does-
Oh, okay. Well, a challenge is waking up sometimes for class because at times you have like lots of homework or you're in the library really late and then you go to bed and you have like a 8 or 9 o'clock class in the morning. So that's a challenge, getting up, and sometimes you just feel like, oh, I don't feel like going to class, but you gotta go.
You have to go. Perseverance. Any challenges for you?
Having like a decent time management schedule, because I can't tell you how many times where I would want to go do something, but I gotta do this project. Oh, like, well, when I'm leaving the football game, yeah, let's go to the oh wait, I gotta meet with my group to complete the semester project that is worth 400 to 500 points. I gotta meet with them because we meet every week at this time. You know what I mean? You have to have a right time management, because if you could just do your homework and go right to sleep and not study or do anything, but if you do that for a whole week and then you turn in all your homework and then the test comes around and you're looking at the test as if you didn't do anything, that's on you. You have, like, so when they say spend 3 hours per class studying, they're not joking. In these college like courses, it's really nothing like high school, Yeah, I know in my MATLAB class, I did spend those 3 hours studying it because MATLAB, she'll tell you, she's been with me like for hours, me just staring at the computer at the code like for a straight hour until like I figure out how to do it, because if he doesn't really hold your hand with it, if you don't know how to do it, you don't know how to do it, and that's 20 points off the test right there. So if you get everything else right, guess what? You have a C.
How many students are in like your lecture classes or in your classes? Per professor?
My programming class, well, the biggest one is Parrish. He has around like 200 students per lecture.
Wow.
So that it's a really big, it's in the ACB, the Center for Academic Excellence, right? And it's in a very large lecture room. He has to use a mic for everyone to hear him. He has these large projector screens there, and you have to zero in on him with 199 other students. So it also just time management, work on your focus, stay up on your work, and that's all I could really say. It was a challenge.
Wow. You two, the way you, in fact, you intellectually sound, probably could go to any college. What do you think?
Well, you're absolutely right. They're two of the brightest young people that I've had the great pleasure to meet in a very short time, and I think that's one of the things with historically black colleges that we really need to promote more.
Yeah.
I mean, and by right, we promote the band, and they do wonderful jobs and sports, but we also need to promote the academic part. You're talking about engineering at North Carolina A&T. I have a student that I mentor is at Morehouse, and I introduced him to a colleague of mine, and the first thing he said about Morehouse is the Harvard of the South. So I think the fact that you can get a world-class education at a historically black college, but the most important thing for parents, and I'm talking to parents now, is that you can get that education for half the cost. You know, so if you're looking at an historically black college or you're looking at a major university, then I mean, you really need to look at it. I didn't go to a historically black college, but I know the university that I went to was a lot more expensive than the historically black college that was down the road from me in Virginia. It's absolutely true.
Wow. So as far as A&T, is it expensive? I mean, you said it wasn't, I'm sorry. For an out-of-state student, it is not.
Yeah, for an out-of-state student, I mean, I don't know everyone's financial situation, but in comparison to other out-of-state colleges where you look at schools like Georgia Tech, where you look at schools like Florida State, when you're paying upwards of $40,000 to $50,000 a year to go there for one, like, you know, this is all 1 year, $40,000 to $50,000. At A&T, I think we had to pay around $27,000, but that's not including the scholarships that I received. So it's somewhere around like $23,000, $22,000, you know what I mean? And then you could also get financial aid and stuff like that. So it is much more affordable to go to an HBCU, especially one like A&T, because they offer some of like the greatest facilities that like these ginormous facilities and all these study groups, all these math emporiums, all these places that they force you to go to that will help you in the long run. Because when I first realized that all engineers had to go to a mandatory math emporium, I was like, for real, an hour and a half? And now I'm like, thank the Lord for this.
Right.
They have a lot of mandatory stuff.
A lot of mandatory stuff that benefits the student, and that's what I like about it. Even though you may not like it when you first get there, in hindsight, all the stuff that they put in front of you that you hate doing will end up benefiting you in ways that you wouldn't really get from another school.
I appreciate that, because you're talking about, you're looking at the future. You're looking at how point A can help me to point B. A lot of kids today, and help me with this, because students today in our community, they're not thinking college. A lot of them, I'm not saying all of them, a lot of them are thinking survival. We have a lot of kids, and understand that the first 3 years of school you learn how to read, and from 4th grade until the rest of your life you're reading for information, so you're reading to learn. We have a lot of kids today that are in 6th grade not reading on grade level, and because they are behind so much, it harms them. They don't think that they can go to college, and then what they see at home sometimes, you'd be surprised how they even come to school. You were going to say something?
Well, your point is well taken. I think the fact that society has changed more, and I'm talking about when we were coming up.
Sure.
You know, we knew each other from high school. We went on to college, and then we came back, and we reconnected in a library.
Right.
Perfect.
Right.
And so even the community that I live in now, and compared to the city of Wilmington, which is a little smaller, but it's growing exponentially over the last 15 years, we've gotten away from, and this is my view, we've gotten away from community preservation compared to self-preservation, because that seemed to be more important. I know when I grew up, it was more community preservation because we had people, extended family. I talked about my friend, you know, when I wasn't a latchkey kid. I grew up with an aunt who's still living, and she's 103 years old, and she's in a nursing home, and a wealth of knowledge. But I wasn't a latchkey kid because I went across the street to my friend's house and stayed there, and there were a large number of children, but her mother and her father took me in like I lived there. Her brother was the best man at my wedding, the closest. So that community preservation helped me to stay in school because she would walk me to school. And see, we didn't go, and see, now you catch a bus for a mile. We walked a mile. This ain't Wilmington now.
That's right.
You know, we walked a mile to school. So I think what Mike was talking about is you have to have that community preservation so that those students that you deal with at Tally, when they go home, they have that consistency. And so when you lose that, then they come into the school, and then there are people like you and me who pick up that slack. And by right, we should.
Yeah.
And not just us, but the whole community come around. You got a young person who's thinking about going to college, because the conversation that comes out of my mouth is say, hey, when you going to college? Where are you going to college? Do you know? We do programs. Mike talked about FAFSA. We sit down with the families and do FAFSAs. All right.
And a lot of people don't know what that
FAFSA is the financial aid forms that you apply for when you want to get financial aid to go to college.
Sure.
Now it's, you know, college is affordable. There's money out there, and I always tell students to invest in yourself. Well, I don't have the money. Well, wait a minute. Let's sit down and go through it. The other thing is that you have to get connected with your high schools, because there are scholarships. I was a member of Rotary for 10 years.
Sure.
And we gave the Rotary Scholarship, and out of the Rotary Scholarship, we had one African American get it. In 10 years that I was part of Rotary. And it wasn't that the students weren't there, they just didn't apply for it. And we had to push that money onto them. So if students are out there and parents are out there, go to your students, your son or daughter's counselor, so that that money can be there. So that $27,000 tuition can be cut in half by somebody else.
I'm gonna ask you, for Rotary, what is the Rotary?
Rotary is a bunch of, Rotary is business professionals.
Sure.
And it's an organization of business professionals that volunteer around the community. I was fortunate enough to be their group study exchange recipient in 2003 to Brazil, Paraguay, and Argentina. I was an international educational ambassador through Rotary, where we went to different parts of South America and promoted peace, human rights, and education. And so when I came back, they had a scholarship that was given out at Middletown High School and at Appoquinimink High School. And I'm sure, I know they give them out here in the city of Wilmington to the schools here, but what we got to get the information out is that they're out there, that the scholarships are out there. All you have to do is go to your high school, if your child is talking about going to college, and meet with the principal or the counselor or whoever, so that you can put that thing in place, and don't wait till the senior year, but make sure that they start in 9th grade.
Yeah, I tend to promote historically black colleges and universities in an education process, period. And I may wear a Norfolk State shirt in middle school, because when the kids begin to see it, you know, they be like, well, what's that stand for?
Right.
And then they want to know more. And if you promote college, even starting on a third grade
Absolutely.
level, then they can say, well, I can do this. They can reach out and touch it. As far as our community is concerned, we really need to, people like you, to talk to our kids, because they're not thinking college. What can you say to a student right now who's wavering, saying, I don't know if I'm gonna go to college, or I don't know what I'm gonna do, or I'm thinking about dropping out of high school because I'm just not getting it. I'm struggling. What can you say to a student that's struggling?
Well, my brother kind of like is in the same position that you're describing. He did not finish high school, you know, and he was struggling at first. He's kind of getting on his feet. He still doesn't have his GED. He went out at around 17 years old, and he's 25 now. So what I usually would say to him, or what I would say to someone else, is like, it is a lot harder to get food on the plate than it is to get a math problem. You know what I mean? So if you are struggling to pay your bills or to eat at night, would you rather do that, or would you struggle for maybe an hour to understand a math problem? It is like, in the long run, you get what you put in. So if you put in more effort, if you take the extra hour, if you turn off the TV, turn off the Xbox, turn off everything, and really put forth effort and look at the bigger picture of your life, how this will benefit your life just graduating high school and then going on to college, or, you know, a trade school, or whatever you want to do. If you look at the bigger picture, it's going to be hard. No one said it was going to be easy.
Exactly.
But if you put in that work, it's a lot. Your life will be so much easier than if you just quit. For me, like, quitting is so much harder than just trying something. It will be a while before I quit. I can just try and like write an answer down. I won't leave a question blank. I'll write something down. You know what I mean? I can't just quit. So if you were to quit, you're taking the easy way out, but you're setting yourself up for more failure.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah, like failing something is a first step at being good at something. You know, you have to fail to be good at something.
Right.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Failure opens up the door for opportunity. It gives you
Exactly. If
opportunity
you
to
just
grow.
give up, I mean, what else is there? Like, you're giving up a whole bunch of opportunities. I mean, going to college is difficult, but in the end, you're like, it pays off in the end.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm. Yeah.
And I've been right where you are. I've been right there where you are. And the thing about it, in college, you gain so many friends.
Yeah.
And people,
Absolutely.
I'm talking about lifelong friends. And then you go back to your Aggie homecoming watch. Once you graduate, those folk, they have the black hair like you. And then as you get older, I'm telling you, this gray hair comes really fast. Time flies.
Yeah. Next thing
So-
you know, you're sitting here like us.
Yeah.
And-
But when you go back to your school, it's like you just left. You know.
Absolutely.
What can you?
Lifelong friends.
Let me talk about this. Unplanned pregnancy in college, because sometimes it's unplanned. And at Norfolk State, I think when I was there, the ratio was like 8 or 9 to 1. And this, I'm talking about 9 female to 1 male. So sometimes that happens. What are they doing on campus, college campuses today, to prevent?
You wanna answer?
All right. Well, North Carolina is very, very big on like safe sex and contraceptives and stuff like that. I think most recently, about 2 weeks after the first start of class, after the first week of classes, they had a free STD testing at the Student Health Center.
Yeah,
it was
they do
free. You
that.
just walk in and it's free. They can test you or something like that.
Yeah.
You can go into the Student Health Center and they will just have condoms there for you. They'll have contraceptives for females and males for you. Almost every like week they have something going on. I remember walking into the ACB, they had a very long table with nothing but just condoms
Awesome.
there. Just to deter students. And you know, I mean, college happens. We all know that. People are young. But just to be smart about it, to be safe about it, because you don't want to throw away thousands of dollars to come here over some bonehead move that you had. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, I know I didn't see a lot of that at Norfolk State years ago. We were in athletics, we were in sports, we were in partying, we were having fun. But that's just a question that comes up because it can happen, and it probably has happened on a lot of college campuses. In fact, there's some girls in high school that are pregnant. What kind of advice can you give them as far as if they're pregnant in high school, can they still go to college? Because once our teens, they get pregnant, they think life stops. They give up, and it's like, you know, I'm going to collect welfare or support from the state. But how do you encourage them to say, stick to it, go to college? Because they can hear it from your age group.
Well, in my opinion, if a female gets pregnant in high school, she still can go to college. It might not be right after high school.
Sure.
Or whenever she wanted to go, but she can still go. And I feel like for some females, once they have a child, they want to provide and do anything they can. So sometimes it encourages them to go to college once their child is born.
So as we're saying, Wilmington, go to college. I'm telling you, it's the best experience that you can ever deal with. You learn a lot, and we in Wilmington, we need to. Wilmington right now, I hear that it's under siege, and it is. They call it murder town, and again, it's not that it's murder town. There's a lot of hearts in this town have been murdered, and people, they have malice. People are hurting because that word called exclusion. And what bothers me is that in the school system, if you're a special education student, they include you and make it an inclusion classroom. So you put the special ed with the regular ed, that's inclusion. But then out of the classroom or out of the school, they exclude people. And that troubles me. A lot of people are in Wilmington are struggling because of exclusion. A lot of them are angry because of exclusion, not even realizing that their anger stems from being excluded out of a decision-making process.
But I think, and you're right about Wilmington, but Steve, that's not just in Wilmington. That's a national problem.
National.
And I think the one thing that we continue to do, and we had talked about a little bit before, is that we really have to come back to that community community intervention. I know we talk about it, but community intervention can be real simple. And because schools are becoming to the point where they're doing all the intervention, and we really have to get back to that community intervention. I know when I was in New York, a lot of the same things you were talking about are happening in real small pockets. You know, in Dade County, Florida, where they have an alternative school where kids who are getting into trouble, they don't get suspended, they go to the alternative school. They have their own graduation or anything, because we have to get back to that now. How do we do that? All right, because when you hear about public education, you hear about one thing, funding. Well, we don't have it. Well, okay, but then we have to be more creative in getting funding and helping individuals, because I tell students all the time, if you get one person that offers you sincere help, you got to take it. All right. And then I say the community, if you get a group of people, regardless of what color they are, that come into your community and want to help, that's sincere about helping your community, you got to take it. Because we're included, but then we're excluded in some vantage point. But we have to work together more in the sense that we got to keep things simple. We have to be persistent and consistent, and I think that will help us to get young people like this.
Sure. We have the phone line open. If anyone is interested in calling in, and I know on Thursday night you probably don't, but if you're interested in calling in, feel free to call in. Can you put the telephone number on the set, please? Because these are some serious topics that we need to discuss, because we have to come together in Wilmington, you know, and we really have to work together in order to improve education. A lot of outsiders looking in on education, they say education's failing, you know, but they don't look at failure as an opportunity to grow. So they just look at like education's failing. And then a lot of teachers are, you know, they're saying, oh, the cause. The system's not broken. People are broken.
Right.
You know, and the thing is that education, we're not failing. We are not failing. Right now we're going through a transition period because of the different changes that the state of Delaware takes advantage of. The state of Delaware has a lot to say regarding the schools. We don't have any local control. I believe that the Art City can have a closer relationship with the school districts where they can then build, you know what I mean? We have to build a relationship in order to get control. We keep giving it all to the state. The state will work with you. They give you different tools, and we operate on we use the tools the same way. But those tools are for us to utilize. They don't tell you how to use them. They say, if you don't, we're going to get rid of your school.
Well, and I think the one thing that we got to start with community intervention is learning what's going on in our schools. I think one of the things that, and then this is just my experience with working with parents, they don't know what's going on in schools, especially when you get to the high school level. Mike and I were talking back in the green room, and we were talking about with his parents and saying, you know, I really didn't talk a lot to my parents about high school, right? But I should have. But I had somebody I could go to and do that. And I think that's what we have to do. So when parents really want to know, don't be afraid to go in there. I think schools can be intimidating in some things. Being a director of an adult education program for a really long time, when individuals would come into my office, they were automatically intimidated. So it was my responsibility to make that experience less intimidating so that they could learn, so that either their child or themselves could be a part of it. And so they would have a positive experience coming into school and learning what's going on, and then helping make change from within. I just talked to a gentleman before I came here. You know, school board meetings, PTA meetings. I mean, these are not African Americans are welcome to go there too and be a part of that, so they can change the school from within, instead of just saying, well, they're doing this, they're doing that. You're right, but we have to be a part of that change. And so when leadership sees African Americans in numbers coming in, you know, then they say, okay, wait a minute, we want you to be a part of this. And if they don't want you to be a part of it, then you continue to go until you become a part of it.
And I'm going to step back on that, but I encourage you, students,
absolutely,
that are home or who are coming home for the holiday, I encourage you, if you're home before school's out next week, go visit your school so that these kids can see you.
That's a good point.
So they can see that, wow, he came from here, he went to college, she went to college, I can do it too. Even if you're from North Carolina and you're in Delaware for the holiday, go to one of the high schools and encourage. Go to one of those schools and say, or with your Aggie gear on, and say, listen, I went to North Carolina Antique. I'm willing to bet you that there's someone there from an HBCU that's going to open up a door for you for when you come home in the summertime, maybe for a job or something. That's why I encourage kids to come on the show, because there's so many graduates and so many organizations out here. So when they come home from college and they're seeing, they begin to say, you know what? Let me call this kid up. I could use them to get an internship. Like, say for some people, they could come to the studio for an internship.
Right.
If they, write a letter or talk to the right people, but the only way they're going to do it is by participating. How do we get the parents to the schools? Because a lot of parents, especially inner city parents, I can't get to the school because, busted or because of choice schools. So we want more parent involvement. How do we bring the parents to the school, or yet should we bring the school to the
Well, technology has
parents?
created an atmosphere where you can get to school without actually getting to the school.
Ah.
So I think to the point that now that we can have technology, a phone call to the school, And another thing is, one of the things that you can do is invite your teacher or your administrator to your community. One of the things that we tried to do in the past is bring administrators into the community so they feel more comfortable, because not just going to the school, but also getting the school involved in the community. And I think that's really important. So there are avenues, if you can't get there, to be able to get into the school.
Good evening. Welcome to the show. Good evening. Welcome to the show. I'm sorry, that takes up minutes and takes up time. But at any rate, we want to get the parents to come into the school. But sometimes even virtual, you say they could go on computer.
Yeah, I can
but
call,
sometimes I need to see. So I need parents to just go into the schools, because I tell you what, when parents go into the schools, they begin to see the atmosphere. It's a welcome atmosphere, but we're just not getting enough parents to go into the school.
It goes back to the community piece too. I mean, if you don't have a car or whatever, and like you said, because I live in a community where public transportation is minimal, and so what we have some parents do is they carpool. So if one person wants to come to the school and the other person doesn't have transportation, they carpool, and so they get there and they talk about the issues that way.
Yep, they carpool.
They carpool, absolutely.
As far as you growing up, it seemed like since you're really good kids, your parents, did you grow up in single family homes or both parents?
I had both parents.
Both parents?
I'm single.
Single?
Single
How was
parent.
that for you? And what motivated you to go to college? Because sometimes if we're in a single family home, it makes it more difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a lot of students today out there, I promise you, that are from single family homes. And they say, I can't go to college. We just don't have the money. I got to work. I got to take care of my little brother or my little sister. What can you tell me about that single family home?
Well, my mom didn't go to college, so she was very supportive in my decision. She wanted me to go to college and was very supportive.
Second generation.
Also, my grandmother, she was valedictorian of her class, but she didn't go to college. She went to the military and everything, but that kind of, like, my family's big on education, so that encouraged me to go out and go to college and follow my actual life goals and my career goals.
And you grew up under two parents. I mean, was it you didn't have a choice, or did you have a choice?
I mean, I did and I didn't, because, leading by example of my older sibling would not be a very good idea to, go the same path my brother did. So that was motivation enough for me to just, zero in on my education and take it a step further. Like, I had already known I wanted to go to college way back, like probably in 3rd grade, just because it looked cool. Like when you're a kid, it just looks cool to be really smart. And then as you get older, you see the opportunities that it gives you. So my decision was already made. And then by the time I went to high school, it was just where.
Awesome, awesome. For me, did I have a choice? Yeah, I had a choice. I struggled in high school, I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, because I played sports. I mean, I didn't struggle because I did my work.
Right.
But I wasn't an honor roll student. I think I made an honor roll twice.
Yeah.
It was the junior, senior year. But even SATs back then, I wasn't a very good test taker, but I persevered because I kept on trying. And that's one of the things I try to express to the community, people in the community. You have to just persevere. You take a test, you fail a test, take the test again.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
Yeah,
Never,
absolutely.
ever give up.
Right.
You know what? And I'm gonna stop right here for 1 second. I just want to. I spoke to a group of students last night over at the United Way. 3 young men and really nice guys. And I would like to thank the Delta Sigma Theta sorority for inviting me over to talk to them. We had such a great time. and talking about your personal best. What is your personal best?
In terms of
In terms of your personal best, as far as what are you good at? What's your motivation?
oh,
Let me
success.
put it that way.
Easily success. Just being able to succeed and to make others proud, to mainly make my parents proud, because they put so much into me. They put so much time, effort, and money into me. And they care for me my whole life. So one of my motivations is not only myself and to get a better life for myself and for those I care about, but also to just return the favor to my parents, if that means anything. I feel like I owe them for as much as they've put into me and supported me, and my motivation myself is just to live a better life, to be more successful than my parents. You know
How
what I mean?
about you?
I also want to make my mom proud. But for me personally, my motivation is lifetime happiness. Like what I'm majoring in and my career goals, I know that will bring me like lifetime happiness. Like that's what I'm striving for, and I also want to be successful. So I mean, I knew I was going to college since middle school. I already knew what I wanted to do in middle school. I already knew I was going to A&T in middle school.
Awesome.
So so my motivation is just, happiness, making my mom proud, success.
Awesome. Mr. Black.
Well, I've pretty much have been able to do things through education that I don't think I'd ever do without it. And I think my motivation is to continue to grow as a lifelong learner. I mean, obviously, and that's my motivation. I mean, I was able to do some amazing things. I was lectured in American embassy schools in Brazil. I jogged in Paraguay. I gave away milk in Argentina. To kids running down the street who said I look like Eddie Murphy in Spanish. So those, those are the things that that we do, but the most important thing is these guys. I mean, it's very simple for us. It's for us, very simple for us, to give back, to be able to come on to your show, and to sit down with these two incredible young people and have a tremendous conversation and to meet Mike's parents and to talk with them about the importance of education and making sure that they continue on their path and then continue on so that everybody who wants to go to college that has an opportunity to go.
Yeah,
That's very simple.
My motivation is being a positive impact in the life of children, in the life of people. I'm very much into our community, not because of what's going on, it's because I grew up here, I was born and raised here. And sometimes I see a lot of people that come from different states into Wilmington and do far or have much more success than a lot of people who were born and reared here. So a lot of times I see the envy, I see that they're upset because of some of these things. And why me? Why we're not getting an opportunity? But how do we change that mindset?
Well, I think the one thing that I learned from guys like these two young people, these great young people, they don't talk about it. They don't sit around and pontificate about what we need to do. They just do. Mike said it. I mean, you go to class, you do your work, you do it. So you set up a plan of action where it's not just about sitting around a table and talking about what we can do over a long period of time. At some point, there needs to be a strategic plan put in place, and there needs to be a set of things that you have to do. These guys are doing it. They decided that they wanted to go to college. They're doing it. Engineering, veterinary medicine. It's going to be tough, but they're not sitting around complaining about what's not happening. They're making it happen for themselves. And that's, I think, they set the standard for people like you and me and others in the community, not just in Wilmington, but for the state of Delaware and around the nation, that we have to do. We can sit around and talk about the issues all day long, but until we put our best foot forward, nothing's going to get done. And these guys are doing it. So we need to take a kind of a lead from them about how we can get a transition to move forward by doing and not just talking.
Can you add to that?
What was the question? I mean, what was the question that he was asking? Like what we should do to change? I mean, I think
how do you change the mindset of our youth?
to change the mindset.
What can you do?
I mean, I think it starts for the youth. I think it starts with the household. Most of you, like you said earlier, a lot of kids who come to school, you're surprised that they even come to school based on what's going on in their own household. It starts with the household, because if you're not encouraged, if you're not, like my dad wouldn't let me quit. Let's just put it that way. He wasn't allowed to let me quit on anything, not homework, not assignments, anything like that. If if the kid puts forth effort and the parents also put forth effort, then there's a much higher chance that they don't get discouraged. Their mindset changes. They get more, I don't know, in tune with their education, if that makes any sense to you. Like, you can't ask someone who wants to go to college, comes home to somebody that says they won't go to college and won't ever have the money to go to college. You can't ask them to be motivated. You can't ask them for the person that they go home to every day to be motivated to go out and do their best. Because at the end of the day, like you said, like, they're discouraged. They see people coming out and they have that envy. And they have the want, but they can sit around and talk about the problems all day, but nothing's going to happen if they're not encouraged to do anything.
Right.
Everyone expects them to fail, so why try?
Exactly.
If my parents don't say I can, why should I?
Exactly.
Wow. Did you have something to say there?
No, you said it all.
I tell you, as far as our city is concerned, and I keep talking about our city because I'm concerned, our leadership, they need to be encouraged. Do you have any encouraging words that you can say to our leadership so that they can really hear you? Because a lot of stress, a lot of pressure is put on them in positions, and a lot of times things happen, and they put it on the leadership, and sometimes they need to be encouraged. So, you know, I just ask that they hang in there.
Yeah.
You know, what can you do, or what can you say that can encourage our leadership here in Wilmington, Delaware?
Well, for me personally, and not just for Wilmington, but for the state,
For the
and
state.
for the country as well, I think I have to continue to build on what we're already doing.
Sure.
And to support leadership in their efforts, and so that we can continue to grow as a city, as a state, as my own community, and as a nation. So I will continue to encourage those guys. I talked to a city councilman before I came here, and we were talking about some of the issues that we're having in our own community, and he was very encouraged. But one of the things he did say is that I'm only one voice. And so the multitude of voices, not just for leadership, but community has to come together, and you don't need a lot, you know, from my experience, but you need to also be able to contribute what you can. You know, we always talk about funding and everything, but if I can contribute to sitting down and just having a discussion with these two young people about a class that maybe I took in college or you took in college, that passes that on. Talking to a leader about something that I can do non-monetarily that can help the community, you know, whether it's, you know, just taking your church and walking out or whatever you do in community-wide. I think those are simple things that we can do right now.
Okay. We're running out of time, but if there's any alumni from North Carolina A&T out here, we have 2 students. Is there anything that you can ask from the alumni chapter here in Wilmington, Delaware? Because I would. What do you need at North Carolina A&T, students?
I mean, what does any college student
Right.
need? Some money would be cool. Some money would be very
So,
nice.
alumni, North Carolina A&T alumni, you have 2 students. They need money. So help out. And I ask all of you alumni from different colleges, help out. Join the HBCU Delaware Coalition. I mean, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's make the wheel bigger so we can all work together because we want to be a positive impact in the lives of people. We need our kids to go to college. We need our kids to be successful. We need our city, our state, our country to become one and operate according to the Word of God.
Amen.
So, with that being said, I'd just like to thank you for allowing us to sit here for an hour in your room or in your living room or in your kitchen or wherever you may have a television set and say thank you, and thank you for allowing us to talk about some of the necessary things that we need to have a discussion about. Also like to say Merry Christmas to you, and God bless you, God keep you. Thank you. As you can see, that Steve Washington will be running for mayor. That will be me. And I can encourage our politicians because really it's all about educating, communicating, and appreciating. And I appreciate all of you for what you do, and I appreciate you for communicating back to the community. We'll be more happy when we begin to include instead of exclude. thank you again. God bless you and God keep you. That is my prayer.
You've always been right there to let me know everything's alright. Whenever darkness came my way, you were my light. And I wanna thank you for the difference in my life.